Welcome back to Crystal B Talks. I'm your host, Crystal Bradley, and today we have Claire Welton joining us. Claire is a provisional licensed professional counselor based in St. Louis, a former school counselor turned full-time therapist, and a passionate advocate for mental wellness. She specializes in helping individuals navigate anxiety, depression, relationships, career changes, and personal growth. Beyond her clinical work, Claire is also the co-owner of Love STL, a community-driven initiative, and she shares valuable insights on mental health and life balance through her social media presence. But what truly sets her apart is her down-to-earth approach, her deep empathy, and her commitment to meeting people where they are in their journey. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here.
Yes, I'm so glad you're here, and we're going to get into all things friendships and relationships and overall mental wellness. I feel like that's important. So one of the main things that I feel like is big in today's society is how to navigate relationships and friendships with female friendships and male to female friendships. So what is your opinion on that topic?
Yeah, I think overall it's just really hard to meet people. So not just dating, but a great point is friendships. And so I just recently finished the book, The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. And she had an awesome whole chapter on friendships and really talked about how after school and after college, it becomes the great scattering.
Really?
It's like, it's like, okay, we just kind of go our own ways, and we grew up like having the same schedules and the same interests. And so making friends was so natural. And now it takes a lot of work. So, you know, she was talking about there are some things that are really key, and that's the timing, the energy or the vibe that you have with somebody, and the proximity.
Oh, really? So it's universal. So even, because I thought it was just me, like after college, I'm like, oh, it's so hard. So what are some of the main pinpoints to look for from the book that she talked about?
Yeah, so I think like naturally the people that you are close with, so that proximity part. So like if people you go to work with, or you're in school with, or you know, you just have outside connections with, because the closer you are, the more likely you are to be able to get together.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like high maintenance or low maintenance, do you even believe in that when it comes to friendships? Like some friendships require more, you know, work, and then others are like low. So how do you think about that topic?
Yeah, so absolutely. You definitely have friends that are more high maintenance or low maintenance friends. So typically you can tell you have a high maintenance friend if you feel like you're walking on eggshells around this person all of the time, right? Like you have to be there, you have to support them all the time, or you can't cancel or reschedule or change plans in fear of hurting their feelings. So that can feel maybe like a high maintenance friendship, or they expect a lot out of you and don't really give a lot in return. So those are some things to look for. Low maintenance are just those friends that it's really easy to be around. Maybe they can be your friend that you're sitting on the couch with and just scrolling or eating dinner with and being comfy in your pajamas or sweatpants and no pressure.
Yeah. So when it comes to like high maintenance and low maintenance friends, do you feel like those type of friendships depend on like their upbringing and like how much people show them attention? So like being around them a lot, or just needing attention? Like, do you think that, I don't know how to describe it, based on each individual person lifestyle?
I think so. So I think like typically you see like certain behavioral patterns with people who are more high maintenance versus low maintenance. So I do think it can be kind of how you grew up and what you were expected to do when you grew up, or your role that you played. So let's say that you weren't heard a lot growing up. You know, you could go either to one of two ways. You could be, I'm quiet, I'm low maintenance, I don't have to do anything. Or you could say, okay, I was never heard, I want to make sure I'm heard, I want to be loud out there, and I kind of want to be the center of attention. And so sometimes those personalities will be bold and out there, but then can also be a lot to deal with friendships.
Oh, interesting. So you also had a workshop based on like, you know, cater to women, figuring out their dating profiles and stuff like that. So can you talk more about that?
Yeah, I'm so excited. So it's coming up and it's at the RFC in St. Louis. And what it is, it's called Solo to Soulmate. And so it's a 3-hour workshop, which is really cool. It's catered to single women who are tired of the dating world. They're like, I don't know how to navigate this. It sucks. This online dating, right? Like, terrible. It's just like, how do you do this? How do you navigate this? And so as someone who has literally gone on like 200 to 300 dates in my 20s, like I was a professional dater, and I was looking for my husband in all the wrong places, in all the wrong ways. I thought I was mature. I thought I knew what I wanted. And then until I started to make some changes, I then met my husband. And so I'm taking what I've learned from research, what I've learned from being a therapist, and my own personal example. We just celebrated 5 years married, have 2 kids. And thank you. Yeah, and I really want to help women. So we're going to work on attachment stuff and work on values and work on how do we make people attracted to your profile for who you are and not just what you think you want.
I assume, so is it, can it be people that doesn't use the apps? Like, can it just be regular people?
Yeah, I think anyone could join. I think it's going to probably pertain to more people that are using the apps, but I really think you can pull a lot out of it, even if you're not on the dating apps, but you are looking and wanting to get out there and meet somebody.
Oh, okay. So what is one thing or a few tips of how to navigate the dating world and learn attachment styles when meeting people?
Yeah. So I think your attachment is so important because your attachment happens in the first couple years of your life. And so there are 2 umbrellas of attachment. There's secure and there's insecure. And so under insecure, there's anxious attachment. So maybe that's the person when somebody starts to pull away, they start going, and they're like, okay, I'm getting nervous, and they kind of become clingy, right? Then you've got avoidant. So when things get too much or too close, it's not that they don't want love, they just don't know how to communicate or express it, so they pull back. So they're very avoidant. And so you've got those 2, and then a mix of that underneath the insecure. And then you have secure, which is usually the healthier type. And that's really key to know that when you start to date, because then you can pinpoint just some kind of behavioral things that will help identify what kind of attachment somebody has and to see, is this a good match for me?
Now, do you think, going back to like friendships and relationships, do you think with females, there can be attachment styles with that as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely. So you can have attachment with your parents, with your friends, in your romantic relationships, and your attachments can look different with different people depending on how that relationship looks. So you could be more secure with someone, you could be a little bit more anxious with somebody else. So it's kind of interesting.
Okay, is there a way to work with a person that, doesn't show or doesn't want to be bothered or express their emotions? Because I feel like when you do that or approach somebody like that, they get defensive. So like, is there a way to approach somebody that doesn't really show their emotions?
Yeah.
Oh, it is? Okay.
I mean, as far as like dating
and just in friendships too.
Yeah, it's harder, right? It's a lot harder because if they don't know how to express it, if that's not something they're comfortable with, then it's going to look like being shut down or avoiding or getting angry sometimes because it's the lack of being able to verbally express how they're feeling to their friends or to their partner. Yeah.
So like, can somebody, I don't know, like say, okay, I'm gonna write a letter to express my feelings or something? Like, how can someone do that doesn't really show?
Yeah, I mean, of course I'm a little biased, but I think therapy is a great place to start because you can work with somebody who gets to know you and is unbiased to help you do that. But writing a letter, I talk to my clients about that all the time, to write a letter, because they can sit with their thoughts a little bit more and they're not so worried about what it's gonna sound like. They can actually express themselves in a very clear way. Okay,
I'm glad you brought up therapy. So do you feel like everyone should just like go to a therapist to like express, something that they don't know about, or just to get through certain like emotions they're feeling?
Yeah, I love that you said that too, because I think therapy is for everybody, and I think that there's this stigma that you have to have something wrong with you in order to go to therapy, and that is absolutely not the case. Like, not the case at all. I mean, there's always something wrong with us to some extent, right? But you don't have to have a crisis or a trauma to enter therapy. You're right, it can be like self-exploratory, like I want to learn more about myself, and maybe I'm seeing patterns in my life that I need somebody who doesn't have this close perspective for my life to help me navigate.
Yes, I'm so glad you brought up that, because it is a stigma, like you have to have something wrong with you, or you have to go to like a mental hospital or something to get therapy. So I'm glad you brought up like it is for everybody, and it doesn't have to be severe. You could just have a friend to talk to. So I really like that you brought that up as well. So with the workshop, you did one this past month, right, in March, I believe. Yes. And how was that? Like, what was the setting for like figuring out their dating profiles and figuring out what they want? How was that setting like, since it's 3 hours?
So we did 3 hours. So I just did a trial. So this time I just did 5 women. I found them online. I was letting them know what I was doing, and I was like, does anyone want to do a trial run with me? I'm building this workshop because I wanted to make sure that I had feedback from current single women. I have not been single for over 5 years, so I don't want to just do this workshop and not really understand what it's like right now on the dating apps. So I have friends, of course, that I've done research. I've asked friends, single guys and single girls, what it's been like. I made sure I've looked at their profiles. But we got together. We started with an attachment quiz because it was important for them to understand what attachment style they were, to understand how they're operating when they're meeting people or dating people. So we started with that, and then we really did some good values work. And so, believe it or not, when I ask a lot of my clients, like, what are your top values? Most of them are like, I have no idea. Like, I couldn't tell you what my values are. And so when you help people identify their values, and then you help them go in their profile and use their profile to show their values, then that attracts the right people. Because I think so many people have like really, really shallow, though cute profiles, it tells nothing about them, right?
Really generic,
really generic. And it can be cute and it can be funny, but like you can make your profile do the work for you. You can have people like weed themselves out for you, so it's less of a stress.
That's true.
Yes.
That's true. Now, going into like families, like how can people that have like family members that have mental issues, how can people go and help them find therapy or seek help in a center way too?
That's a good question. And I think even before we get to like how can they help, like the person has to be ready, right? Ooh. Like we cannot force people to want to change, but we can influence them. So another great reminder another good reminder from Mel Robbins, but you know, we can influence people to want to change by living out our life and showing people how good things can be, but we can't force people. But if people are ready to go to therapy, I mean, any city you're in, you could just Google St. Louis therapists, but there's Psychology Today has a list of therapists on there. A lot more therapists are, like myself, are going online. So I am on Instagram, and I make sure that I would make reels and things out there for people around the St. Louis area, and that's how I found a lot of my clients. And then it just kind of trickles from there. So making sure that you're very easily accessible is helpful.
I love that. You also have the fact that you mentioned you go on Instagram and make reels. You also have Jesus Love Therapy.
Jesus in Therapy. Jesus in Therapy. So I made that. Oh my gosh, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago. I kind of battled between having my personal profile be my therapy one, but I decided ultimately to do it separate. But as a Christian, and I work in a Christian environment, and as a therapist, I think a lot of people as Christians think, oh my gosh, well, you must not believe in God if you go to therapy. Why don't you just trust in God? And it's okay, well, cool. If somebody is having a heart attack, I will pray, but I'll also call 911. Right? I'm not gonna just sit there. So just like I will pray and trust God when I'm struggling with anxiety or depression or a breakup, I can also have somebody there to help me through it. So I really like to use Jesus in Therapy as just inspiration, hope, and relatable content that points towards Jesus.
Yeah, I'm glad that you made that analogy, because I do hear that a lot. Like, people be like, oh, you got a problem, just go to church. Or you still need to, I feel like you still need to like talk it out and think about stuff like besides going to service. So that's a good point.
God put people on this earth to help people, right? Like, community is a big part of it, so we don't have to do it alone.
Oh yeah, I feel like community is a big importance for mental health and mental wellness as well, and having a big, what's the word? Some people people say like a village to build somebody. So I think that's very important. Now, with the let them theory and the friendships, attachments, going back to that, I feel like growing up, especially in a community, people be like, don't talk too much, or don't let other people know your business and stuff like that. And I feel like that makes, it impacts people when they grow up to be like, okay, then how can I navigate the world? And I've been told like not to tell other girls my business, or like, figure out plans. So what is a way or how to break down that barrier or stigma against, females too, when they say stuff like that?
I've had people like that where they're like, we're not allowed to talk about anything outside of our family. Like, I don't know how to process. Like, this is how we grew up, right? And so it is a practice that you have to start to work through, because like neurologically you're programmed to like be quiet, right? And so if someone's like, oh, tell me about this, or share about this, and you're like, like, you still feel like that child at home that's like, mom or dad's gonna be upset if I share this. So you gotta practice, and you gotta find people that you're safe with. Like, you don't have to be vulnerable with everybody. Like, you absolutely don't have to be vulnerable with everybody, but to find people that you trust, people that are like-minded, and you feel that are gonna be just good people to listen and support you, like that. I think that will make it a lot easier.
Oh, I love that. Also, so some people also talk about like how it's so hard to find a good therapist. So like, how are some ways, or like, what are some tips to find a good therapist, I should say?
Good question. So it is like, finding a therapist is like dating.
I heard that too.
Because if you're going to like open up your whole life and talk about all these vulnerable, hard things and cry in front of somebody, like, you don't want to do it with somebody you're not comfortable with. And like, I'm not the perfect therapist for a lot of people, and vice versa. That's why there's so many. So that's why I think a lot are going on Instagram to show their personalities, because once people kind of get an understanding of who this person is, so you can always do that, like on social media, look at the hashtags, like hashtags therapists or therapists of St. Louis. But again, that Psychology Today is great for profiles, or just Googling and seeing if there's any places around your city or that have like great, programs in places. Finding a therapist, I do hear like it's kind of like dating. It's so hard, and then people say like some therapists can't relate to others. So I'm like, I don't know how to help people in that perspective, but I'm glad you mentioned that point. So that's amazing. Yes. One of the books you have here is called Attached. And it's mainly like relationships with like, I feel like, partners. So can you explain more about that? This is the book for singles. It's actually the book for anybody who's in a relationship too, because knowing your attachment style, you are going to just thrive in future relationships, friendships, and current relationships. So this book, you start out taking your attachment quiz. You get to see what attachment style you are, and then each chapter breaks down what it looks like to be each style, and then also how to combat that, right? Like, how do you change it if you are anxiously attached to somebody, which is more of an insecure attachment? How do you grow to be more secure? So this book really works with you, and not only will you understand yourself better, but you'll understand your partner or the people you are dating better, so you don't stick in something too long if it's not right.
So you feel like people that's like stuck, or vice versa, in relationships, that they just don't know their attachment styles, that's why they feel stuck?
I mean, possibly. Because it's so innate in us. Like, again, we form our attachment styles in the first 2 years of our life. So it is so subconscious how we operate. It's just, here's a name for the behavior. And it's really, really cool to see, oh yeah, I do that, or I do pull away when things get like too much or too close, right? And we don't understand why, which is another thing that therapy is really good for. If you're a person that wants to know why you behave a certain way, therapy can be really good for that. and different modalities of therapy as well.
I love that.
Yeah.
And lastly, where can the viewers and audience find you?
So I'm on Instagram. My personal is at Claire Lily Welton, and my business is at Jesus_in-therapy. And then I work at Crossroads Counseling, so I am taking new clients, but would also be able to refer you to some other great therapists too.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. We had a lovely conversation. I hope the viewers took a lot from this conversation and advice, and got their notes down and figuring out what they want to do. So I'm so glad to have you here and give your wisdom and your experience. So yeah, thank you everybody for watching Crystal B Talks, and I guess I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.